children, a big loving welcome to our very own channel, Ammu&You, where I, Ammu, is ever so ready with lovely, lovely stories to narrate to you. You love my stories and you write to me, and that makes me feel so very happy. Today, the story that I have selected for you is again a very, very interesting yet beautiful one. 5 Spoons of Salt by Sudha Murty from her book, Grandma's Bag of Stories. So 5 spoons of salt. Gita, where are you? I need you to run down to the store and get these medicines for me. Gita's grandfather called out for her. Where was Gita? She was lying in her room on her bed, reading a book. For a long time, she pretended not to have heard what her grandfather was saying. The book was just too exciting, and it was so hot outside. She really did not feel like stirring out of bed. Gita! This time her mother's voice also called out to her. With a sigh, the girl got out of bed and went to see what needed to be done. Why was everyone calling out for her? Her grandfather handed her some money and said, I have a really bad headache since morning, Gita. Will you please get these medicines for me? Now Gita took the money and set off for the store. On the way, she passed by a sweet shop. Oh, what lovely gulab jamuns and laddus and jalebis were displayed. She really had a sweet tooth, loved eating sweets, and all her favorites were there in the shop. She had to have some. Forgetting all about her errand, she entered the shop and started tucking into sweets. Soon a friend came by and joined her. The two girls ate and chatted for a really long time. A lovely, lovely time that Gita was having with her friend. Gita had forgotten all about her poor grandfather with his headache. Afternoon turned to evening. The medicine store shut for the day when Gita remembered why she had stepped out of her house. When she hurried back home, how upset her grandfather was. When will you grow up, Gita, and become responsible? He sighed and asked, but could do nothing about it. Gita now felt really bad. But she mend her ways? Could she really mend her ways? She could, but she didn't. No, she remained the same forgetful person. When her mother told her to collect the clothes from the washing line outside, she remembered to do so only the next morning. By then, the clothes were soaked through all over again because of the overnight rains. Another day, she had to take her sister's lunch box to the school. Her sister had forgotten the lunch box in the morning, so her mother asked her, Gita, to carry the lunch box to school for her sister. On the way, she saw a circus was in town. All morning, Gita spent wandering around the circus tents, watching the animals eating and training for their acts. It was only when she felt hungry herself did she look down at the lunchbox in her hand and realized her sister must have gone home by then after spending a day in school without lunch. This was our Gita, who was all the time forgetful. Not that she had any problem, but actually she was distracted very easily, and whatever caught her attention took her mind over, and she would just forget what she was up to till then. Now, another time, her father, while rushing to get ready for work, asked if she could quickly iron his shirt. Gita picked up the shirt and placed it on the ironing table next to the window. Just then, the fruit vendor passed by with big, fat, juicy mangoes in his basket. Oh my. Of course, Gita forgot all about the hot iron sitting on the shirt and got engrossed in choosing the best mangoes to buy and, of course, eat. Only when smoke started billowing out and the shirt had burnt as crisp as toast did she look around and see what had happened. What had she done? Her father was very, very upset indeed that day. Everyone would think, when would Gita become responsible and start getting more focused on whatever she was doing? When she would mend her ways of forgetfulness? But everyone was disappointed. Every other day, there was something or the other that Gita would end up doing, and her family would be so exasperated. Some days after this incident, Gita came home from school and announced that the whole class was being taken for a picnic the next day. The teacher had asked each student to bring one food item from home, which would be shared by all the children. Gita had chosen to bring sambhar. She was very proud of her mother's tasty, tangy sambhar and was eager to share it with her friends so that they could taste it too. Gita's mother agreed to make a big pot of sambhar for her to take to the picnic the next day. And that night, Gita went to bed feeling very happy, dreaming about the exciting day ahead, the picnic with her friends that she was to go to. The next morning, her mother woke up early and started making the sambhar. She had a whole lot to make for all the children. She boiled the dal, added the vegetables, coconut, and all the spices, and set the pot boiling on the stove. Soon a delicious aroma wafted out from the pot and tickled Gita's nose as she lay sleeping in bed. Seeing her stir, her mother told her, "Gita, wake up now, dear. See, the sambhar is nearly done. I'm going to the temple, so after some time, just add 5 teaspoons of salt to it. Don't forget now, and wake up and get ready quickly." So her mother thought, since she was going for the picnic that day, she would be really very excited in getting ready and would leave the bed on time and start getting prepared to go to school. And so she told her this very small thing to do for the sambhar that she had to carry to school for picnic. Saying this, her mother bustled off to temple. Gita's grandmother, who was in the kitchen, heard all this and muttered to herself, "When will my daughter-in-law learn that Gita can never remember anything? Will this mother of Gita not understand this small thing? I'm sure the girl will forget to add the salt. Then she will be teased by all her friends. Better be careful." So saying, she went and added the 5 teaspoons of salt in the pot. She was worried that the forgetfulness should not bring any form of embarrassment to Gita. Now, Gita's grandfather was sitting on the veranda reading his newspaper. He remembered only too well the day he had spent with a headache waiting for Gita to return with the medicines, which never came. Gita, and remember something, that'll indeed be the day. He muttered, "Let me do something about it," and went into the kitchen and added the 5 teaspoons of salt in the sambhar himself that he had heard Gita's mother saying to Gita. Now, Gita's sister was combing her hair, ready to go to school. She too recalled the day she had spent feeling hungry in school, waiting for Gita to turn up with her lunchbox. Sure that Gita would forget about the salt and be laughed at by her friends, she quickly went into the kitchen and added 5 spoons of salt, as she had heard her mother say. Gita's brother was brushing his teeth and, hearing his mother's words to his sister, guessed she would surely forget about the salt. He dropped in a few spoons of salt into the pot and went off. Gita's father was carefully ironing his own shirt now. Like the others, he remembered that awful day too, when Gita had burnt his shirt out of sheer forgetfulness. He too slipped into the kitchen and added the 5 spoons of salt to the pot of sambhar. By now, Gita had woken up and, wonder of wonders, remembered she needed to add the salt. So she too went and added 5 teaspoons as her mother had told her to do. By now, her mother had returned and quickly poured the sambhar into a big container and sent her daughter happily off for her picnic. At the picnic spot, the children had a wonderful time, roaming around and playing. Soon they were too hungry to do anything else. Out came the plates and spoons, and all the containers filled to the brim with food. Plates were piled up with rice, chutneys, vegetables, puris, and all kinds of goodies. Everyone took large helpings of the sambhar as Gita served it out. But no sooner than they put the first spoonful in their mouths, blah, horrible, water, everybody started shouting. Astonished, Gita wondered what was wrong, then gingerly tasted the rice and sambhar on her own plate. It was disgusting. It was as if her mother had dredged out all the salt in the sea and added it to the sambhar. Then Gita remembered her mother had not added the salt. She had. And she had added 5 spoons only. And that is what her mother had asked her to do. Didn't she? So what had gone wrong? That day, everyone in Gita's house waited eagerly for her to get back from school and tell them about her wonderful outing. But what was this? She came trudging back, her face sad and tear-stained. What had gone wrong? What had happened? Gita burst out at them. Did anyone else add salt in the sambhar? I did, said the grandmother. I did too, said the grandfather. So did I, said her father. Me too, said her brother. And I, said her sister. They all looked at each other in dismay. Out of extra care and love for Gita, they realized what each one of them had done. No wonder Gita looked so sad. Her friends would have made her feel miserable about the salty sambhar. Why did you all do it? Amma had only told me to do so. Gita wept. Oh dear, you forget everything you are told to do. So we thought perhaps you wouldn't remember this time too. All of them said sadly. Now her mother pulled her close, wiped away her tears, and said, See, Gita, all this happened because no one could believe you could do anything without being reminded many times about it. Promise you will be careful and a responsible girl from now on, and we will all trust you to do your work. Gita sniffed and nodded her head. She did become much more careful with her chores after that. And it took a lot of convincing, but her friends did come to her house for lunch one day to taste her mother's delicious cooking, especially her tasty, tangy sambhar. And everyone agreed that it was the best sambhar they had ever eaten so far. Gita was so happy, and she indeed had learned her lesson. She had seen and realized how important it was to be careful and responsible for her own actions. I hope, children, you also have learned this very important lesson. Always to be accountable for your own self, to be responsible for your actions, and always be properly involved in everything that you are asked to do. Only then can others around you trust you and depend on you. You would have loved the story. I know that. So please like, share, subscribe, press the bell icon so that you get all the updates from your favorite channel, Ammu&You. Be good, be responsible, be obedient, and wait for Ammu again when I come with a new story. Thank you so much for listening to the story and watching the video. Till I come to you again, bye-bye.